Good afternoon. Uh, Maybe I'm going to probably play the devil's advocate here after all the hunky-dory presentations that we've seen for the last 1 hour. Uh, I come as a representation to you more as a consumer than anybody else. I work with Prayas Energy Group. We are a policy research and advocacy organization. We've been working in this space for about 25 years now. We work very closely with a lot of regulators, utilities, and Ministry of Power. Rather, it would have been good if Mr. Mishra would have stayed back, but maybe nonetheless, next time. So what is it that I'm here to talk about when we are talking about all of the digital era and the new innovations and ideas and all the fancy tools that we have here? In India, what is happening right now, the new thing that is in and everybody is looking up to is smart metering. So I agree and I completely buy that it is crucial that we really have smart metering because it has multiple possible benefits. We have already moved towards smart metering, already have around 1.6 million smart meters out there. Mr. Kazi here from Tata is one of those leading utilities who have been working consistently towards it. The ministry and a lot of other central government programs are working towards building smart metering initiatives, and replacement of the large 250 million consumers is in track. But for me as a consumer or as a consumer representative, what is crucial for this program to become successful is that the consumer develops trust in this new system of metering and billing. With all the past experiences of the metering and billing that we've had in the country, it really becomes crucial that we do have a systematic, consistent, continuous, and a transparent learning system and move towards a better smart metering system. So what I want to talk about here when I'm talking about data privacy and consumer concerns or security concerns is, one is something that we've been overlooking for quite some time, is defining what consumer rights are. So it is great that the utility interacts with me. It is great that the utility gives me a lot of information, but I would also like the utility to respect my rights. I think at a lot of places, consumer rights in the utility space is not being defined very, very correctly. I would like to definitely appreciate O-Power here for their non-intrusive methods of reaching out to the consumer and trying to bring in that change. So when I say consumer rights, what is it that I'm talking about? Is basically giving the choice to the consumer whether he wants a smart meter or not, whether he wants a prepaid meter or not, what is the frequency of data by which he or she should let the utility collect data. I think these are certain concerns that are erupting, and it is not just that in India, that because smart metering is new, but we have seen these backlashes happening in a lot of countries. Spain, in UK, in Europe, in a lot of countries, people are now pushing back smart metering just because consumer rights have not been addressed or consumer concerns have not been addressed. So I just wanted to bring these things onto the forum. These can be addressed. So with smart meter data, yes, we understand that for the utility is definitely beneficial. It will help the utility improvise their systems by multiple folds in multiple ways. But what data the utility collects, at what frequency, how, is something that we need to look at. And as a consumer, we need to be informed about how all of this data is being collected. So although the data privacy bill is currently being chaired, the Ministry of Power, different utilities, regulators, need to be party to the data privacy bill, and they need to have their own mechanisms to deal with how they will accept the data privacy bill or the act once it is passed into the smart metering processes that are happening. And what we feel is that there have to be different levels of anonymization of this data. So anonymization of the data at DISCOM level, at cluster level, personal identification with and without consumer consent needs to be looked at. So we all know that yes, having granular, more fine data of consumer is very, very beneficial. It can help them reduce their bills. DISCOMs can use it for operational purposes. Academicians, civil societies, including us, can use this data for a lot of research. We have been using some of this to basically build an energy economy model, to do grid level planning. But there are third-party vendors, marketing agencies who can use this information. At certain points, for example, for law enforcement, sharing this information without anonymizing the data can be done, but all of this information needs to be clearly and openly discussed and shared with the consumers, is what I want to bring to the table. And then we need to ensure that consumer rights are clearly addressed. So consumers need to know what an opt-in and an opt-out mechanism is. They need to be given that option. A secure protocol for how data is maintained, how it is procured, where it is kept, how it is shared, how often, whether this data will go out of the country, whether it will stay in the country, whether you have a common system. Just around last month, we had another roundtable where Mr. Vishal Kapoor, who's director at MOP, was also a part of the panel discussion at our roundtable. He was also suggesting of having a common level platform where smart meter data from all utilities could be collected. But when you have such systems, you have more concerns around security. You have concerns around how the data will be collected. What are the formats in which you will collect all of this data? Will all utilities comply by those formats? Will all utilities be forced to buy meters from certain particular vendors, and so on and so forth? So all of these systems need to be also put in place, and regular audits definitely have to be also made a party to once such systems and such smart systems come into place. So the three things that I really want to bring forth is that issues related to data privacy and security are complex, and it is that, and they have significant impact on consumers. I do not, as in most of us here would know of all the misuses that can happen with the smart meter data that, if leaked out, can happen. And data protection policy is necessary before a widespread rollout of smart meter system. So now that the data privacy bill is being chaired, once it becomes an act, the utilities, Ministry of Power, regulators need to agree and work towards a policy. And Ministry of Power should work to make a white paper and on how data privacy and data sharing protocols should be built with multiple stakeholders. That's what I want to bring. Thank you.